Wait for it. Wait for it. And we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters Blaze podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a stabby chaos coordinator, and one chief shenanigator, geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves. And first, adding those extra titles, man, this doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easy. I'm not quite there yet. But we've got Mr. Bill McUshdin. I'm probably butchering that again. One day I'll get it right.
McUshdin.
McUshdin. I was not even close. I got the Bill right.
Oh, the Bill is the easy part.
Can you introduce yourself, Bill?
Yeah, I'm Bill McUshdin. I am the writer of the Zorn pulp serial over on Substack. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next we have Miss Jana S. Brown, who sometimes cosplays as Jenna Ray and many other smoochy voice writers.
Well, yeah, every now and again, not usually for this show, but we do have our moments. I think we're doing paranormal romance on one of these things at some point, and then we will talk about all the smoochy things. But that's not today. I am Jana S. Brown. I write urban fantasy, speculative fiction, science fiction of all stripes, the weird and the wonderful, sometimes with smoochies, under the pen name Jenna Ray, and I'm excited to be here. This is one of my very favorite movies.
All right. Next we have Mr. Jarrett Keene returning to the show.
Oh, you're muted, dude.
My name is Jarrett. I'm a professor in the English department at UNLV, and I'm the author of the post-apocalyptic adventure novel Hammer of the Dogs.
Frankie, standing next, we have returning after a long hiatus, Mr. James J.E. Pittman.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be back. I'm J.E. Pittman. You can just call me James. I write the Felix Chance series. Call it darkly cozy urban fantasy, but it's a lot of things rolled into one. I also write action military sci-fi with Pandora Squad, a little bit of horror, a little bit of everything, basically that makes you think, what the heck was that? That's me.
But is the beard game on point for your main characters?
Yes.
All right, and have you added anybody a combat mustache yet? The combat stash. Have you done that yet?
I have not, but I was hanging out with another frequent flyer here, Jesse, a couple weekends ago, and his bro has a combat stash going. So much so, we nicknamed him and one of the other guys Mustache 1 and Mustache 2.
Yeah, I mean, when the mustache has more confirmed kills than the best sniper out there, it's time. You gotta write that into one of your books now. It's like
in the second Pandora Squad, I'm adding a Merc Squad. They're gonna have some battle stashes.
Out freaking standing. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have Miss Melissa McShane, War Mistress herself.
That's right. Hi, I'm Melissa McShane. I write many different fantasy novels, including some contemporary fantasy, some historical fantasy, and the lit RPG series War Master, and I'm excited to be here.
All right, so before we dive into the movie that brought us here, we do have to do the religion question, and we're going to keep it short and sweet today so we can dive into the movie they're all ecstatic to talk about. So we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle-dragging troglodytes. So coffee or tea, and what the heck are you watching when you're watching these movies? Bill?
What am I watching when I'm watching these movies?
What are you drinking when you're watching this movie?
Okay. Usually I drink.
I'm on my 12th cup.
That'll do it.
Low for you.
It is actually.
In terms of what I usually drink just plain water. But when I watch movies, I always like to enjoy a nice Snickers bar.
Ooh,
like a refined gentleman who is absolutely not trying to relive a much more pleasant, nostalgic time in his past.
Okay. Jana.
All right. So I do love my Diet Dr. Pepper, pretty much at any point. But when I'm watching movies, well, okay, back in the day when I was watching movies and I was also still eating pizza at that time, it was all about the root beer because you have to have pizza and you have to have real brewed amazing root beer. And for the time that this movie is, that was the thing. It was pizza and root beer.
Wait. You don't eat pizza anymore?
No, I do not.
Are you
I have
like
not
Trump?
had pizza in about 14 years. I
Do we need to-
miscarried after eating a pizza and a half on my own and threw up pizza for 24 hours, all the way driving from my in-laws' house back to home. And we know every bathroom stop and every really good bush all the way up I-15 because I vomited in all of them, and I don't eat pizza no more. I'm sad about it because my children love pizza, and I am at least over it enough that they can make pizza and I am not ill. But I tried eating it again about 6 months ago, and it's just no, and I'm very sad. No pizza for me. But
Okay,
but I
well,
have
we won't peer
nostalgia
pressure you.
about the days of pizza and root beer, so it's okay.
Well, then we won't peer pressure you. That's a valid reason. All right.
So
What about you, Jared?
Oh, always coffee. I love coffee, and I love anything diet, anything that has fake sugar in it. It powers me. It keeps me going as I watch all kinds of fantastic movies from the 80s that I can't stop rewatching.
The formaldehyde in your veins is going to keep you alive for another 100 years, sir.
Yes. Let's hope.
Batman.
So for movies, Coke Zero now, and no, Pepsi is not okay. Sorry, I'm in the South. I am where Pepsi was born, but you ask for a Coke and you get is Pepsi okay? No. Nope. Coke and popcorn. I remember when I was in Australia, they had movie theaters that actually served whiskey. England too.
Ooh.
And I'm just like, let's do that. So let's get on that, America.
So why Coke Zero and not Diet Coke?
I can't stand the taste of Diet Coke because the Diet Coke was actually a marketing ploy. They can make it taste just like regular Coke, but people thought it was not diet enough, so they made it taste bad. Psychological tricks from the 80s. Fun.
So I actually think the Coke Zero tastes bad, and I like the way Diet Coke tastes. Regular Coke is too sweet.
You've just been brainwashed.
Okay.
Well, and they do use a different sweetener and a different preservative. And
Yeah.
for some people, if you're sensitive to that particular preservative, it tastes like metal, whether it's in the can or not. So I'm
Yeah.
with you. I drink Diet. I don't drink Zero because it tastes like metal.
And to me, Zero tastes just like Coke did back in the 80s when it was real sugar. So
Sweet.
Okay. All right. Now you can actually get alcoholic beverages at a movie theater if you go to the what do you call it? The ones where they play the movies that are old already, and you could have like the restaurants, cinema cafes.
Yeah, Rubies.
I know a few of those. I'm working on getting back to them. I honestly haven't been able to go to a movie theater due to some family obligations for the last 3-4 years. So I just haven't had the notion to go, but I'm getting there.
I've seen maybe 5 movies in the theater in my entire life.
Wow.
See, I used to go all the time back when the defunct service that lets you get free tickets was a thing. I was really using that to its fullest extent.
Okay.
I would go once or twice a week, especially back in the day when this was before that service. The midnight movies were a big thing. My friends and I would go every week. That was our thing after work because we worked until midnight.
So for us, it was all about the Blockbuster experience and then doing it at home because you could pause it if you wanted to get refills. And we like to eat while we watch the movies, and the Cinema Cafe wasn't around yet. And so for us, if we wanted to eat while we watched it, you can get that little Caesar square it was a rectangle pizza that they served, the long rectangle. You had to do you had to do the Blockbuster. So for me, I preferred that over going and sitting in a loud theater where you got the people talking and people's hair in the way because the 80s and the 90s they had the big hair.
Yeah, well, that was the great thing about the midnight shows. If it was people who were there for the experience, not the people talking or dragging their kids there or whatever. It was just a good experience. Or I would go on Tuesdays when I had Tuesdays off and nobody was there and popcorn and drinks were half price. And I had the theater to myself most often.
Okay. And finally, we got Melissa.
Oh, when I was young and going to the theater a lot, the movie theater, it was always root beer. And that was, when I was a kid, and we went a lot. I mean, they had a summer movie program for kids, and you'd buy into it, and then you'd go every Saturday, and the movie theater would be full of kids, and they showed just really cheesy movies that like Herbie Goes Bananas and a lot of fun. It was I remember that very well, and so I've always enjoyed going to movies, and it's been kind of not so much anymore. Not so much going to the theater, but our local theater has one of those fancy drink machines where you can mix flavors and things, and like you push the Coke button, because it is Coca-Cola. I don't like diet. I can stand Coke Zero, but regular Coca-Cola. And here in India, we get real sugar in our Coke, so it's fantastic. And so you go there, I get Coke with lemon, and that's my beverage when I'm at the movie theater.
So you can't get you get real sugar, but you don't get real ice. So I guess it's a trade-off.
You can get ice, and they tend to know if you're an American that you're going to want ice, and so it depends on the restaurant you go to. You don't get ice water. That's there's a liter bottle at the table when you go to a restaurant, and it's not refrigerated, it's not cold, you don't get ice. So no ice water, but if you get something else, there tends to be ice in it.
In case you didn't catch it, Jarrett, she lives overseas right now, so she's living in southern India.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different experience for her than what we get over here in the States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's weird here because the movies are a really big thing, but they don't. It's a local industry in Malayalam, the local language, and so everybody's going to movies, and we're kind of out of it because we don't speak Malayalam. And they'll get a couple of English language movies, but it's always big blockbusters and not always what I am interested in seeing. Most of the time, I like action movies, but we don't. We haven't been to the theater here ever. I think my husband went to see the Taylor Swift concert. Yes, he is that kind of fan. So
we won't judge him because he also likes Fallout. So
that's right. He likes Fallout.
All right. So now let's dive into, before we do that, we're going to, since the day we're recording this, the War Hamster anthology just launched. So we are going to play the sponsor of this, the series that inspired it, War Master, as the sponsor of today's episode. We're going to play that before we get started so we don't interrupt the flow. I'm going to roll that beautiful bean footage.
All right.
For 5 years, Adarin has waited to get the call. The event when the system controlling her world grants her a class and appropriate skills to become an adventurer. When the system makes her a War Master, Adarin eagerly sets out on her first journey. The problem? Her class is useless. No one believes a War Master is anything but a joke. They aren't strong fighters, they have no magic, and they don't have powerful skills. But Adarin hasn't waited all these years to give up now. With the help of a young man from another world, she's going to prove this War Master can do anything.
War Master 1, Dungeon Spiteful, by Melissa McShane.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. A little bit early, but, Ranger liked it, so that's a good thing. And with that, we're going to talk about the movie that we're going to be reviewing today. So we're going to be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, the first movie. It was directed by Steve Barron. Budget cost of $13.5 million US in $1990. So who knows? That's probably like $1 trillion in modern money. Box office $202 million US in 90s money. For a duration of 93 minutes, it released March 30th, 1990, and was distributed by New Line Cinema. The ad copy was, 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles emerge from the shadows to protect New York City from a gang of criminal ninjas. I could not find the exact ad copy. As you know, when we talk about older movies, the ad copy from the era is sometimes lost to the vagaries of time. But that's what IMDb has, and that's as close as we can often get. And so before we start talking about the movie, is the ad copy good enough for all of you, or do you think there was better?
It works. It's cheesy.
Yeah.
It tells you exactly what you're going to get, and that is exactly what it delivers.
Yeah,
More
pretty much
turtles,
anybody.
plan.
Pretty much anybody who goes into it knows that it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they don't need to be sold more on it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we're gonna roll the trailer, and we can look and see if that would have made you want to watch it.
Our family grows. The city itself will be our playground to use as we please, rewarding ourselves and punishing our enemies.
We've been looking for you, Miss O'Neill.
There is a new enemy, freaks of nature. Together, we will punish these creatures.
What the heck was that? Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
Awesome! Yeah! I love being a turtle!
All right. Thank you for stick. No, it's not a commercial break. What am I talking about? So, what did you think of the trailer? Did it speak to you?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Oh, the music! That is like the worst music for a trailer.
I know. What was up with that? Why didn't they use the soundtrack? The soundtrack was really good.
That is the original
soundtrack
trailer.
was fantastic, and that
Yeah.
is a terrible, terrible music track for that trailer.
Uh-huh.
Probably couldn't get the licensing for that.
There were
Yeah.
3 other
Same
trailers
reason
that were
all the-
available. Go ahead.
The reason all the dubbing was wrong. They redubbed everything from not what was in the movie to fit
Yeah.
the trailer.
Mhm.
So there were actually 3 other trailers that were released after the movie took off because they realized that one wasn't doing what they wanted. But I figured since the trailer that got people to the theater was what was worth analyzing, I showed us the first
Yeah.
one.
I don't know if it was the trailer that got people to the theater or more just the urban legend of the comic books and word of mouth, and the fact that by that point, every kid like me who grew up like watching Turtles from the start was like, I want to go see the movie. I want to go see the movie. I want to go see let's go see the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it
Well,
because
and-
my little brothers and sisters were into it because I was older at the time. So.
And the animated series was mid-'80s. I believe it was 1987, 86,
Yes.
somewhere in that area. And so
Started in
a lot of us
85.
were already sold on the comics. We were already sold on the animation. So this was just the next step. That, like Melissa says, you've made a movie of it. I'm there. So I had never seen this trailer until right this very second. And it would have got me for the fact that it was the Turtles. It was exactly what I was expecting. But no, there was nothing deep and intense and musically appealing about what we just watched.
Yeah, the music was pretty terrible. I don't know. I think they picked some really good shots from the movie. It's action packed. You see the villains, you see the heroes. There's I don't know. I think without this, I think if they'd had a different musical score to that, it would have been better.
Much
But
better.
I think the visuals were pretty good.
The other good thing about it, like you're saying, the visuals were great. They picked great scenes and great
Yeah.
shots, but they didn't give like the punchlines away.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. Mhm.
you know, like for instance, when they throw the pizza up and Leo's cutting it,
Mhm.
the payoff on that one, you know, you see it hitting the plates, but you don't see it hitting Splinter's head,
Splinter. Mhm.
which was
Yeah.
like the joke
The
and
gag.
gag
That
in
was
the theater.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they went up to that line,
Mhm.
but they didn't like spoil anything. So it was
Or
very
like
nice.
the guy in the cab where the fare is saying, what was that in the cab? He says it looked like a turtle in a trench coat. And then the next line is, you go into LaGuardia, because the point of that was, New Yorkers, we can handle anything. It's just weird here.
Right.
So they didn't give that away. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that was a good feature of that trailer. So
Garrett?
Yeah, I think the trailer is. I mean, let's face it. This at 1990, that's just gold. I think I was primed for it. I was too old to see the movie. I saw it when I was 17. I had no business in the theater. I should have moved on.
Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah, I was 18, so same thing. Yeah.
I felt like the nostalgia vibe. Yeah, the nostalgia vibe it was already there. It's like one of the last 80s movies, in terms of animatronics and special effects and karate and all that. It just felt like the last one. I had to go see it.
And April's hair.
Yes.
Oh gosh, bad April's hair. Yeah, it was 1990, so it's 35 years old, which is part of why when we were talking about movies we wanted to take a look at. It's like it's 35th anniversary of that movie, and I was 15, so I was just barely younger than you guys and older than these two. And yeah, I probably didn't have any business going to the theater, but there I was.
Yeah.
And let's not forget
plastic suits and all.
Bill, you haven't weighed in.
It was certainly one of the trailers of all time. I will give it that. What? My response to that trailer is pretty much the exact mental response I had when my nieces told me they wanted to watch K-pop Demon Hunters with me. I was like, what the... My response to that was, what is this? And my response to this trailer is, I am thankful that wasn't the first thing I watched for this movie.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I watched in a
I think it's
daycare,
also
they busted out the VHS and I'm young enough. I skipped the apparently horrendous marketing campaign this movie had. And I'm thankful.
That's the thing. Like, it was definitely a trailer worthy of a film that got, what'd you say, a $13 million budget? And then once
that's true.
They blew past it and end up with 200 and something million. That's when they're like, maybe we give it something better to bring in the people who aren't already just hooked on the nostalgia and hardcore fans. Because you got to remember, around the same time, they were doing a heavy cross-promotional thing with Pizza Hut and the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, which was a stage show rock concert with turtles in full costume.
Right.
I still have the poster that I got from Pizza Hut.
There was also a role-playing game that was very popular, at least in Florida, where I lived at the time. We played a lot of Teenage Mutant Turtles. D&D style, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh yes, played that one too.
I think they just re-released one. There was a Kickstarter, I think, last year for it.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but it looked fun. Art was great.
That's one thing about the 80s. We were all in early 90s. We were all convinced that quicksand was going to kill us and ninjas were everywhere.
In every shadow.
Yep.
So let me throw this up on the screen. So this is the original movie poster. So what do you think of the movie poster?
Oh. I love it because it reminds me of another great movie from the 80s, Chud. Big humanoid underground dwellers. I love the monstrous aspect being emphasized here in the poster. They live underground.
I love that it's only the human actors that get credited.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You got the artists.
And then there's Judith Hoag and Elias Koteas.
Yeah.
Who was great. I love him.
I was trying to see if they even did the voices, but they didn't.
No, they didn't. They didn't do the voices. They didn't do the body actors.
Body actors.
Yeah.
So it was
those are
the one in the cab was one of the body actors.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all the guys in the animatronic suits had cameos.
Oh, right.
Like, so they got their face on screen at least.
Yeah, that was nice. Well,
What
Well,
about
that's
you,
cool.
Bill? What do you think of the poster?
Honestly, this poster is a lot better than the trailer. This
Oh,
poster,
wow.
this is like, yes, this is perfect because you've got the turtles, you've got them coming up out of their home, which is, I guess, if you want to be pretentious about it, could be like symbolic of them, rising and becoming the heroes that New York
Uh-huh.
needs over the course
Sure.
of the movie.
Yeah.
But like, this is a phenomenal poster right there.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. And
Mhm.
I wish I wish we had more mainstream, or at least big budget movies with like decent posters. But then again, I also wish we had more decent mainstream movies these days. So
Mm.
There's that. I also like the line that says, "Hey, dude, this is no cartoon."
Mhm.
Yeah.
They were having to fight that because you had
Uh-huh.
the toy centric cartoon, then you
Right.
had the gritty comic book, and so doing a live action movie, they really had to try to like maintain the hype, but also distance themselves. So it's like this isn't a kids movie.
Mhm.
Though it
And
does
yet it
read more like a cartoon than some of the later ones they did.
Mhm.
The second one where there's a few of them that we're never going to think about, but it did read a little bit cartoony, and I was okay with that.
Does
Mhm.
anyone else have thoughts on the poster before we move on?
I think it sells it really well. I like the they're not shying away from showing that they've got these turtles, and because if you're not aware of the comic strip, the cartoon, and all that, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just sounds ridiculous if you're like not a nerd. It just sounds silly, but this makes it look more like you're going to take it seriously, I think. So that's I like the poster. I like it.
All right, and this contemporary to when the movie was released, this is what they were selling as swag, as merch that you could get from the movie, which is like designed to be like a wall hung. Because in the 80s and the 90s, it was all about like there were whole shops and malls where you get nothing but posters you could buy to hang on your wall.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that was the second one.
This is the poster that they were selling for the movie. Thoughts?
I mean, it's the second one because you can see the two.
Yeah,
monsters in
this
the
is Secret
background.
of
The other
Ooze.
monsters, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was released because the characters that are extra that aren't in the first movie were in the games. So this is what they were releasing, tying the two together. But this was released before the follow-on movies.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they're trying to
then.
bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the same shredder from the first one, but then you have the two monsters from the second.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It was fine. I liked the Pizza Hut. Are you going to talk about that? The Pizza Hut tie-in?
I didn't know about a Pizza Hut tie-in. So
So Pizza Hut did the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, which was a whole tying together because of the whole we sell pizza and then the Ninja Turtles eat lots and lots of pizza. So they did a lot of advertising for the movie. And as part of that, there was the Coming Out of Their Shells tour. And this was a whole soundtrack, some of which actually showed in the movie and some of which did not, some of which was voiced by some of the same voice actors and some of which was not. And you got it on a cassette tape when you bought a pan pizza and you went in and you told them that you wanted to be part of this whole thing. I still own the cassette. For those of you who are too young to know what a cassette is, go Google it because I'm not going to explain that. But I still own mine. I have played it within the last year because I still find some of the songs. They were actually fairly well done. The Turtle Power one is one that I can almost, but not quite, still do the entire thing because at one point I learned it all. And so that was another big tie-in where they had the music and they had more posters that went with that. And they even had shows where they would have actors, and I don't believe they were the film actors, but they would have guys in turtle suits, and they would sing the various music and stuff. So it was all tied in as a musical thing at that same time, which with the rise of MTV and all that kind of stuff really made a lot of sense and really appealed to an audience in a different way. So that was my favorite tie-in swag is the musical and the coming out of their shells tour. Because I'm that kind of nerd.
Movie nerds are cool. Did anybody else follow the Pizza Hut tie-in?
I wasn't old enough to follow it.
And I was too old. So
Go away, Bill.
I was negative
Bill-
5.
Bill keeps us honest.
At just how old we were. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think I was the perfect age for that at 15. It had a whole lot of appeal for exactly where I was. And again, the music was appealing. It suited the 80s to 90s crossover where the music was kind of changing. We were picking up new aspects of rap, new aspects of other things. And so it's actually a really good crossover soundtrack is kind of what the 80s were best for and what the 90s were becoming.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you guys think of the characters?
Well, they're the characters that are familiar, so it's like, okay, so I watched this with my daughter, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is her fandom, and she's not with us because she has school. She's in college, and she's also a little shy on camera, so she declined the invitation. But I asked her to watch it with me so that we could talk about how the characters are portrayed. And she said that it was really interesting how much of later shows and movies riffed off this original film. And we weren't sure because neither of us had read the comic. So we weren't sure how much of that was just the material or how much of it was, here's the movie. This is the base state. And so we'd talk about, well, Casey is sometimes portrayed as a little dumber than he is here. And April always wears the yellow coat. And so they're iconic. And so I like the characters. The Turtles fandom that I'm most familiar with is the show Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And they do a lot of different things that is not the canonical stuff. But even I could still see, these are still the same personalities that they've always had. So I like that about the characters, and you have Leo fighting with Raphael, and you have just all the interactions that they have, and they were fun. And even Shredder is like, he's a one-note villain, but he's pretty cool. He's scary, and so that's what I like about the characters was they were engaging and familiar, really.
Yeah. Shredder's only supposed to be a one episode.
Right. Yeah.
He was dead in the first issue of the comic.
Right.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
He was a
Cool.
one-off villain that they just latched onto with the cartoon series, and then, well, that's why Casey Jones went oops at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to be out of there, and they would move on to the aliens or one of the other villains.
Yeah, whatever they were doing. Yeah.
But they were
That's
like,
funny.
nah, we'll keep Shredder and just give him
cool.
a saw blade helmet.
Yeah.
Somehow Shredder survived being compacted.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, he did. He did.
He rose from the garbage dump. Angry.
It's funny because when I watched Masters of the Universe, I think prior to this film, I said, wow, this doesn't match the toy line or the comic book or anything.
No.
And the Crow later on, I think 93, 94. I was like, that doesn't line up at all. But with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990, I never, it just seemed like it was very connected to the book. And I never said to myself watching the film in the theater, oh, that's not right. It was all.
Well, Eastman and Laird had a heavy hand in the production. They were credited on the poster. And Kevin Eastman actually, I was able to talk to him at a few Comic-Cons, and he was like, yes, it's canon. It's different than the original comic we drew, but, the original comic we drew was just us goofing around and mocking Daredevil, and riffing off of that, and then just having fun with it. And then he's like, when we sat down and started actually plotting bigger arcs, we were like, okay, well, we'll do it this way. We'll make these changes. So, they are canon changes, and there's stuff that he and Laird wanted to do, but other properties got when you try to translate a cartoon that's meant to sell toys to a more adult audience that is wanting like blood and guts and violence and your blockbuster sword and sorcery type thing, it's the repeatability is there, so they are very liberal with the changes that they make.
Yeah, and it was allowed to be humorous. We were allowed to lean into the corny. That's kind of the other side they took from the violent, the gory, the whatever is take this for exactly what it is. It is 4 grown men in rubberized animatronic suits pretending to be Ninja Turtles and don't think very hard about it because when you do, the whole concept falls apart. But character-wise, the thing that I really loved about this is that they behave like brothers. They fight like brothers. They talk like brothers. I raised 2 boys that are 4 years apart, and watching some of the the fights and the this, that, and the other get into, I'm like, yep, that would be my kids. That's exactly the way they behave, both in the places that they get upset with each other, and the fact that in the end, they will always have each other's backs. Raphael can go off and be an absolute jerk and do all of the things, and they can be mad at him or whatever. But when push comes to shove, they are going to save him. They are going to bring him back. And it's the 4 of them together that makes it work. And so I like that aspect. I like that found family. I like what it means for the rest of the show because we have the kid who leaves his family and thinks that he's looking for family in another place and is eventually brought back around because he sees what the Turtles and Splinter mean to each other, what family really means. So it really did have some interesting themes and some fairly important themes, but they were all done through these characters, and Shredder chews the scenery. He is so much fun because the actor just went ahead and said, I am committed to this role of this one note bad guy, and I'm going to do it to the nines. And so he's great. He's a scene chewer, and I love it. But yeah, so the characters work for me.
Yeah.
That's so true about the Brotherhood. It's very few films that attempt that, much less pull it off. It's very endearing and enjoyable for that reason.
Regarding the characters, I will say the 3 major standouts in this movie, besides, Shredder's scene chewing, are absolutely Raphael, Splinter, and that kid. Because Raphael, out of all 4 of the Turtles, he had a bit more of an arc going on. And then you also have Splinter and just seeing his influence with the Turtles and also his influence with the
kid.
With that
Danny.
kid.
Danny.
Yeah,
Danny.
dude, that line where the kid comes in and Splinter says, you look far too tired for someone your age. It's like the exact kind of stuff you'd expect from a wizened kung fu or ninjutsu master. A proper sensei. And that's another thing this film does really well, is just leaning into everything that it's sort of mashing together. Yeah, we're in New York, so we're going to have New Yorkers being New Yorkers. We have teenagers who are ninjas, so they're going to be teenagers. Absolutely, 100%. And we're also going to have our Zen sensei master, who's, the source of wisdom and guidance for everyone in the movie. Just really leaning into all of these different things. And of course, obviously, everyone just having fun with the project as a whole.
Yeah. That's one thing about Splinter being the wise master. There are a lot of subtle things that are in there, like in Turtles lore, that kind of recently just kind of come to light and really been popularized. Like, for instance, Splinter really knows each of his sons, and he knows their character and their faults and their strengths. And one of my favorite things, and this is legit, the reasons why each turtle fights with the weapon they do, besides the fact that they needed different weapons to distinguish them in the early comics because they were just newsprint,
Right.
but they actually thought about it later. And for instance, Raphael, he has anger issues. He's prone to acting out, lashing out. So what does Splinter give him? Scythes, which are blunt. They are a defensive weapon.
Right.
Leo is responsible. He is very meticulous. He can handle the burden of having the sharp killing machine, swords. Donatello is tech bro, intelligent. He is always after the gadgets. So what do they give him? A stick, a wooden stick. And then Mikey, who, if you see The Last Ronin, you realize he's just ADHD as all get out, and probably the most talented and skilled of the brothers, but he needs the most complicated weapon to focus them. Otherwise, he is just off doing skateboard tricks and eating pizza.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where, all the characters are super well rounded and not in the most obvious ways either. I love the subtleties that they put in there.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
What did you guys think of the bad guys, the Foot Clan and such?
They're bad guys. I was talking about how in science fiction fantasy movies you have to have bad guys who are they all look the same, and they all have to have their faces covered so that you can put in as many extras as you can without worrying about continuity. And so I like that the Foot have those bug eyes that are just ridiculous, but still make them kind of menacing, because there's that they're not quite, they're humans, but that masks make them not quite human anymore, and
it gives a disconnect.
I think that fits. I think it fits with the bad guys, and of course Shredder,
and also
he's great.
The graduation from like the street kids, the punks going around stealing stuff, to being adopted into the Foot Clan and losing their identity to the faceless mask type thing. That admission to the cult. It was just a great little underlying throughput, and also the fact that you have a very young Sam Rockwell.
Oh yes, that shocked me. I did not know he was in this.
Sam Rockwell.
And so I'm looking at him going, wait, that looks like, no, that can't be Sam Rockwell. It is. Sam Rockwell.
He's
totally.
throwing cigarettes to underage
He was
kids.
great. Yeah, he was great.
And I believe he was also one of the extras in the mask, just to fill
Probably.
everybody in there. Everybody in there to put on the mask at some point in that raid. Like, we need numbers. We got to put these numbers on the screen,
because they just kept coming.
Yeah.
Man, that was the other thing. There were a million of them against 4 turtles and Casey.
And the ones in the back didn't have to fight, so they just put all the ones that could fight up front.
Yeah.
So you just had the illusion of mass.
Yeah.
And I think the portrayal of Casey is so critical too. In the comic, you wondered, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? He almost seemed to switch. The Berserker Wolverine character who you never knew.
Vigilante.
Exactly. Side he was going to land on. He just as easily switch over and then join Shredder. I felt. From the comic book to this, cinematic adaptation here, it's. I think that portrayal, that depiction. I'm blanking on the actor's name who plays
Elias Koteas. Yeah.
What a great job.
He was really good. He's my favorite. I love that actor. And so when Casey shows up and he's fighting with Raphael, because it lends itself to what you were just saying about how is he a good guy or a bad guy? Because at that point he's an antagonist. Yeah. And so the fact that they end up being friends, and his fighting style is so different from theirs. I loved that he's this, stepping up with all kinds of sport equipment, and because that's what he does, in the final when he's getting beaten by Shredder's lackey, and he uses the golf club. It's like this is just Casey's idiom. He uses sports equipment, and so I really liked his portrayal. He was really fun.
And he also
the hockey mask. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say he also has a very he has an antagonistic relationship with Raph, but like he
Yes.
and Johnny are bros when they're working on the truck.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they're like, okay, so this character is very, very not one-dimensional.
Yeah.
He is intelligent and mechanically minded, but he's also a vigilante who just makes use of sporting equipment. He, dumpster dives, and because I mean, being a vigilante isn't cheap. You gotta get your gear where you can.
It doesn't pay well.
There's where,
Yeah.
you're stopping the muggers. You're not getting paid you're not taking the wallets.
Well, and going to some of the subtleties with like character design, equipment, all of that, I think it's great that all of Casey's stuff is just basic sports equipment, and his uniform is literally just that hockey mask and like a jacket
and a jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, and
a jacket.
And that's all he goes into combat with. That's all he
golf bag.
And that's totally him.
And it's great because it's sort of a subtle way of letting us know, like, this is a guy who doesn't have much, but he's just sick of seeing what's happening to his city. Sick of seeing what's happening to the little people and the innocents getting caught up in this crime wave.
Yeah, he's the unpretentious Western hero in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for 80s kids who saw Friday the 13th, you do get that moment that's kind of, again, is he a bad guy or not? Because the guy that shows up in a hockey mask in a lot of our films at that point, that's Jason Voorhees. You're supposed to run away. And then I had that moment when he first stepped on, even knowing who he was because I'd read the comics, there was still that visceral moment of, that's Friday the 13th. No, we're fine. That's not the same character. So that made a difference. And he does get the girl in the end. So,
yes.
All right, JR, you're up.
I was going to say it made him easy to cosplay too. So he's one of the most popular costumes for a while.
That's right.
So what did you guys think of the cinematography of the way this movie was shot?
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the blend of practical and special effects. Is like the penultimate culmination of both arts meshed together between the animatronics, the practical effects, the ILM's ghost splinter work with the bonfire, just even the little flashback to the rat in the cage, which may or may not have been cut depending on what version you watched.
Right.
It was cheesy, but it fit.
And it felt really gritty too. I mean, it's dark, it's dirty. The sewer is nasty. It's probably not as nasty as a real sewer, but close enough that you feel like, these poor turtles. I was sad for them watching this as an older viewer and a mom. I'm like, those poor turtles, they're living in squalor. They need to live somewhere better. But
that
but the farmhouse is cool.
Yeah.
The broke down couch, all the broken furniture.
Couch, yes. Oh my gosh, what's living in that couch?
So where are you getting the money for the pizza from?
Yeah, that was the other thing. Where is the?
I didn't even think about that until just now.
Yeah.
Where is the pizza budget coming from?
Yes, where is that money coming from?
The number of people that drop cash and that kind of thing. We had a little lady in our neighborhood who, when she went running, would keep a little pouch on her belt and would pick up all the spare change that she encountered. And not as much now. We don't think about it that way now because so much of what we do is through cards and that kind of stuff. We've moved much more cashless. But if you go back to the 90s, dropping cash happened all the time. I suspect that they were able to find a lot.
And let's not forget recycling cans and bottles. That was still a big thing.
That's true. And New York did that. Yeah, we used to do that when I lived in upstate New York. We would collect cans and turn them in and we weren't living in a sewer. So, yeah.
And I think the other thing that really touched me as I was watching this in 1990 was, I sensed a connection to the great movies like Labyrinth, Dark Crystal. When I was watching it, as a 17-year-old, I couldn't put my finger on it until I saw the credits and noticed
Jim Henson. Yeah.
Yeah. And that magic is just so,
absolutely.
I don't know how to explain it. It's I can't articulate why there's magic there, but it's Henson's presence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
All
what
right,
did you guys
JR.
think of the plot? And I think we could combine the plotting and the world building together because in this movie they sort of flowed. But what did you guys think of it?
I think it's hysterical that as soon as April meets the turtles, she's, freaking out, and Splinter's just like, oh, hey, now's the time to info dump on this poor girl. I'm not going to give her time to breathe. I'm not going to give her time to come to terms with the situation. No, my name's Splinter. I'm a mutant rat. These are my boys. We stepped in some green goo, and now they know. Now we all know ninjutsu.
She was a reporter, and they probably knew that.
They
And
did know
so
that.
that
They did
would
know
have
that.
been.
She's still a person.
She's
freaking
still,
out.
yeah, freaking out.
But I
I
think that's
agree.
also something that would be a comfort, is to say, well, what's going to appeal to her? Well, if she's a reporter, she's looking for information. We're going to start feeding her information, and it does calm her down because it brings out the curiosity. So I see the connection there, and I agree it is kind of a and poor thing. But I can also see why it would appeal to her and would make her go, okay, I can go with this. This will be fine.
It all worked out.
And coming from a news background, I've worked with a lot of reporters, and I can think of at least 4 who would have had the exact same reaction April did, where whenever she, was confronted by the foot, and they're like saying back off, she would just start swinging, and then of course she's gonna steal the sigh, and then when she wakes up in the sewer, she's gonna be like, okay, so fill me in. Like, okay,
there's a reason
I'm
that
either
Nosy are
dreaming or this is just like amazing. So we're just gonna run with it.
She survived.
She's a survivor.
Yeah.
Well, and it's an archetype. The nosy reporter is a thing, whether it's Lois Lane in Superman or April or whomever. That's an archetype of women that did that. I mean, they even did it in Doctor Who with Sarah Jane. That archetype is that very strong way that they had women interact in a lot of these stories, that they were going to go get into trouble because they were going to be nosy about everything, and they were going to look for trouble. They were going to look for curiosity, and then the good guys could come and save them.
Yeah.
Although, on the subject of her being a reporter, what is up with her boss? I mean, I know he's being pressured by the police guy, and so he's wanting her to back off and all that, but he's supposed to be a newsman.
He's
what is up with that? Well,
you
clearly,
see, that's the brilliance of this movie. Is it's
I can't get into right now, but
well, that's the brilliance of this movie. Is it is subtly digging at the corruption in mainstream news media. Decades before the year 2025.
Yeah.
Yes, and
they were thinking 4 parallel universes ahead of us.
They were thinking really hard. No, but because it's always been that way, and so that makes it really good. I mean, because I'm watching him and I'm thinking, okay, this makes sense, but at the same time, he needs to have this story arc where he comes to the end and is like, yeah, you need to be my reporter again, because otherwise he's just an obstacle and not a very fun one.
And let's not forget, journalism is at this moment, I believe, criticizing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for being a violent movie.
Oh,
The satanic panic is just starting to fade. The Comics Code, which was a journalistic piece of hype, was fading at this moment. The power of that code, and people in entertainment looked at for years. Going back to the Comics Code Authority, the Hays Code. They looked askance at journalists. Journalists were there to rake muck and cause problems for people who entertain for a living. And this is J. Jonah Jameson with Spider-Man. This is kind of springing off of that, I think, to a degree.
Yeah, and I think that's some of where that comes from. Is you see J. Jonah Jameson, who is anything for a story, as a boss, versus this guy as a boss, and now I can't remember his name, but it was something basic. Anyway, so him kind of caving gave April something to do that was like, clearly right, that she had the right instinct, she was doing the right thing.
Yes.
And he was the one standing up and saying, maybe we need to not be so tough on these guys because they're pressuring me. And so I was really glad when he ends up being a good dad at the end, when he proves Splinter right.
Yes.
And in the middle there, I'm watching that and thinking, I think Splinter may be wrong about all fathers caring for their sons, because I'm not sure about that. But I'm glad that it worked out that way. I'm glad that that's where the story ends for them. I think that was a good choice.
Watching it today, I'm sorry. Watching it today,
probably,
I'm like, why is he at her house apartment?
Yeah. Why was he there with his child? I was really confused at the time, because I'm thinking, wait, are they together? Is this like her stepson? What is going on here? So it took a minute, because I haven't seen this movie since it came out, really. It's not my kid's favorite installment in the Turtles mythology. So like I said, my daughter had never seen it, even though this is her fandom, and she has opinions about all the different movies and shows that have come out, and there's ones that you just don't talk about, and there's the ones that are better, and things like, I don't know, in later ones, Raphael is the leader, but she tells me in everything else it's always Leo. And so the rap at the end, when they say that Raphael is the leader, really confused me as a movie viewer. Like, wait a minute, I just watched this movie and he was not the leader. So I don't know what was going on with that, but
rap is where that myth started.
Yeah, it must be, yeah. So I can see that. And then, in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he is the leader, and there's a big deal about how he's always clashing with Leo, but they're like, because he's the older one and he's the leader, that changes the dynamic, which I thought was interesting. But we're only talking about this movie. It's just that, I feel like the whole thing is sort of interwoven. And like I was saying, this is like the foundation. This is where everything came from, and they keep drawing on that. Like, there's a trope about Michelangelo being thrown through a window, refenestrated is what my daughter called it, and how that shows up in several places, and how there's a part where they're injured, they go to the farmhouse and they put Raph in the tub as he's healing, and that shows up in later shows too. So I like that this story is strong enough to support later interpretations. That's one of the strengths of the plot, I think, is that nobody ever had to contradict it in later works.
So back to the news director guy and why he was doing what he was doing. He was a dad. Yeah. He was under pressure from above. Yes, it went against every journalistic integrity he had, but he also had a son and family he was providing for, and his job was at risk. So basically he was told, toe the line or you're fired. And, back then, if he's the sole breadwinner, well, then his family's done. So he was acting out of concern for his son, even if it came across poorly. He was just one of those overstressed, probably coked up, getting pressure from above, like his boss's boss, all the political sources with the police. They're pulling all the strings to put all the pressure on him to do it. April is free to do whatever she wants. She's only risking herself going out there, and he's, probably misguidedly, he's trying to protect her job too, because he's like, I've seen this many times where young reporters who get too nosy get fired, and it's their career to if they step on the wrong toes. So he's trying to play that mediator role against his better judgment, which I'm very glad at the end he just stands up for what he actually believes in and says go for it. And in doing that, he gets his son back and brings down, breaks the actual story.
Well, and there is that scene where where the police guy calls him and says, "Do you have a son named Danny?" And then it's sort of they never show anything else.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so at that moment, I'm thinking, okay, he's getting direct pressure from the corrupt police person.
Yep.
Who is saying, because I agree with you. I'm not sure how much of that shows up on the screen here. I think a lot of it is sort of backgrounded, but I think that's true. I mean, he at least for that, he is clearly under pressure. He's clearly being told to do that. So yeah, I think his character makes sense. Honestly, I mean, it frustrates me because I'm thinking, he really should be thinking more clearly. But we don't see enough of him to really get as much as we could, and it's got kind of a long running time for the movie it is. I mean, 93 minutes? So for a kids movie, which this is still has to appeal to kids, that's a little long for an attention span. But I think it would have been, that subplot would have been really improved if we'd had just a couple more minutes with him, because I think that his character, and I could actually see this as being something that was left on the cutting room floor because they didn't have enough time, because there are all those hints of it, like you're saying. There's all that's all in there. But I think they missed a chance to really make him strong. But there's a lot else going on in the movie, so maybe there's no room.
Right. That's one thing. And another, to answer your question, why he showed up at her house.
Mm-hmm.
One, so Danny could steal the money from her, and you get more emphasis on his character. And two, so he could deliver an off the books message. Can't be seen in public supporting her or squashing it, but more like just kind of like back channel communication. Like he's dropping his kid off at school to make sure he stays there, so maybe she's on the way, and he's like, before we get to the office, stop doing this, or pressure from above is going to get you. So like they say, every scene in the movie has to have at least 2 or 3 points, and like you said, if a couple of things shored up his character more, they might have gotten cut on the floor if they didn't have that extra element.
If that's all they were, yeah. Because he wasn't that important to the plot. So in another sense, it's actually kind of amazing that we got as much of it as we did. So, because he was kind of tertiary, really.
Right. I think they added that kind of stuff in for the adults who had to bring their kids for it. So it's like you had the family side of things, like with the dad protecting his son, the father figure with Splinter, the fake father figure with Shredder and the Foot Clan. That's parallel storylines in between the pizza shots and the skateboarding and the fighting.
All right, JR.
All right, so any closing thoughts, overall thoughts about this movie?
Okay, I just want to say that those guys in those suits doing those acrobatic moves was impressive.
Oh my goodness.
I could not believe how much they pulled off. And we were both, my daughter and I, just really struck by how good the practical effects were with those suits. I mean, there's one scene where and now I can't remember which of the turtles it was, but he's chasing them down, and you could see that they had replaced the mask that was mobile with a mask that was solid, and his lip was kind of up like this, so that you could see that emotion. They changed it for that, and there was just this little detail, but it was so cool that they were thinking that hard about how to make these look right, and they were believable as as turtles. I thought that was all just really amazing that they were able to do that it didn't look hokey.
Yeah, the Google Foo says that each one of those suits weighed between 48 and 70 pounds, depending on the scene that they were shooting and what they needed for that particular scene. And so can you imagine saying, yes, you're going to do all of this while carrying a minimum of 50 pounds that at least is strapped all over your body, so it's not in one place. At least it's kind of
distributed.
Yeah. But still, that's a lot to do.
That's just a lesson
in that.
That's just a lesson for all the folks at home that Doesn't matter how often you're going to the gym, you need to go more.
So you can do ninja moves in a
Yeah.
70-pound suit.
Yeah,
They're doing
exactly.
cartwheels. They're doing cartwheels in those suits and
And
flip.
legit cartwheels. They're not
Yes,
like
real
special effect
cartwheels,
ones.
not the
And
silly one.
skateboarding.
And
And
skateboarding, yeah. I mean, even when Casey is watching like Raph on the rooftop, and it's distant, so it's we don't know who's in that suit really at this point. The guy's still flipping around, and it was just amazing. So that is my thought.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to give us their closing thoughts?
I know that when I watched the movie at 17, I was thrilled with the ending, and I couldn't wait for the next film. And that feeling stayed with me until Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah.
we don't speak about it.
Yeah, we
It
don't
makes
talk
us
about that
sad.
one.
All right. Well, then this is the part, dear listener, dear viewer at home, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books or movies or comics, whatever. It really doesn't matter. So do your part and leave a good review on what you love, what you hate. Do your part. Join the community. And with that, Jana, how can listeners and viewers at home find you on the Wild Wild interwebs?
Well, I'm really bad at hiding on the wild interwebs. My son, who is much more not even aware, but more concerned about these things than I am, tells me all the time, someone weird's going to show up at your door. And I'm like, yes, and I will feed them cookies, and away we go. So you can find me at linktr.ee, linktree/Opal Kingdom Press. You can also find me at opalkingdompress.com. Jana S. Brown, Jenna Ray. I'm all over it, and it all leads back to me.
Did I read that right? Did you just invite me to your house? You said someone weird.
Yeah,
For cookies.
feel free, stop on by, bring Ranger. I do have dog biscuits, so Ranger can come over and he and Sable can go play in the backyard and do all the good things. But like I say, I'm bad at hiding, so you can definitely find my author persona out there. And are you doing the what are we writing or working on right now, or are we skipping that?
Well, sure. Since you asked, what are you writing?
I'm working on anthologies right now, so it's very exciting. I'm getting the Griffin anthology is out the door. The Gargoyles anthology is in production, and it's going to be lots and lots of fun.
All right, Melissa, where might we stalk you on the Wild Wild interwebs?
My author website is melissamcshanewrites.com because my husband has yet to switch me over to melissamcshane.com. And there you can find information about all my books and a link to my newsletter, which is published monthly. And you can find me. My storefront is nightharborpress.com, where I sell ebooks, print books, and some audiobooks. And I don't know what I'm working on right now. I'm between projects, but we are hopefully gearing up for a new series.
Yeah, outstanding. Now, what about you, Pittman? Where can we find you on the Wild Wild interwebs, and what are you writing?
On the Wild Wild interwebs, you can still find me at halfacrepond.com. On the socials, it's J. Pittman Writes or j.e.pittman. PandoraSquad.com, I got that going. Felix Chance is, just Google my stuff, you'll find me. It's what I'm working on. Brazen Head, first of the spinoff series from Felix following the immortal Count Saint Germain. And I'm working on a few other projects, which will be announced shortly. And that's what I got going.
All right. What about you, Jarrett? Where can we find you on the Wild Wild interwebs, and what are you writing?
JarrettKeen.net, author Jarrett Keen on Instagram and Facebook. Right now, I'm writing a superhero horror series called Breakers, and the first book is Split Light Brigade. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's like the X-Men meets Exorcist.
Cool.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
You'll have to come back and talk about it when it goes out.
Oh, I'd love that.
All right. What about you, Bill? Where are you going to stalk you on the internet, and what are you writing at the moment? I'm assuming Zorn?
Yes, always Zorn. There's not enough Zorn. My mission is to provide the world with enough Zorn to last them 30 years, obviously. But I'm still working on Zorn. That can be found over at Substack. That is Zulu Omega Romeo November Echo.substack.com. And yeah, that's still chugging along. I'm also currently working on a book, partly for a contest that I'm not expecting to win. So when I inevitably fail that, I'll take a look at the book, do some edits, and hopefully that'll be a start of a nice little pulpy war adventure series. Beyond
Tinkerbell
that,
will never get her wings if you don't think happy thoughts.
well, with that book series, I'm thinking war crimes, lots and lots of war crimes, like a true American.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm doing that. And in terms of finding me on the internet, I use the same username for everything, Wilder396, with a Y in place of where that I would go. Otherwise, you can just look at how my surname is spelt. It's not exactly a common one. And I think that just about covers everything.
All right. And just so you know, there is no Zorn. There is only Zool. And with that, you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters Blaze Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters Blaze Podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Blasters and Blaze Facebook group and Facebook page. We have our email, blastersandblazepodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandblazepodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Stubbs tab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee, hot chocolate, tea, or coffee until it pours out of their ears, and then we float away on a river of liquid earwax, and that does not sound as good as it did in my head. So we're going to have to do better. That did not make you want to buy some coffee brand coffee, did it? I will do better next time, I promise. And if you want some of that coffee brand coffee that does not taste like earwax, you go to the link in the show notes. Use the code PodcastGrunts. It gets you 10% off. We get a little bit of kickback. It's a win-win, people, and you help keep the lights on. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. With that, we are out. Wait for it.